Sigma males appear to be the most hated of all the numerous masculine stereotypes. However, why is this the case? Well, it's quite easy. Humans have an innate tendency to despise what they cannot comprehend. A strange group of people, Sigma males don't follow the rules of society or follow the group's mentality. Many people misinterpret their independence and intelligence for arrogance or aloofness. This might negatively make people stand out, particularly in a culture that places great importance on blending in and following the crowd. The fact that these men don't give a damn about what people think of them adds fuel to the fire. Although Sigma males don't actively seek out hatred or attention, these things seem to come to them. Here are 12 reasons for why they are so hated. Number 1. Being honest can be rather cruel. It's no secret that a lot of people find it unpleasant to hear the truth, particularly when it goes against their wishes. Therefore, rather than hearing what they need to hear, they would rather be surrounded by individuals who tell them what they want to hear. The Sigma male doesn't strive to be kind or make other people feel at ease when he speaks. He expresses his opinions honestly, which some people find disturbing. Although many like his honesty, it can have unintended consequences. You know, a Sigma male is sincere when he shares his thoughts or offers criticism. He is direct and doesn't mince words while expressing his gratitude. For those who have grown used to receiving approval and affirmation from others, especially those in positions of authority, this honesty may be a bitter pill to take. It's easy to understand why some people despise Sigma males for not participating in their games. But their goal is to solve the fundamental issue. They have no intention of hurting or offending anyone. Although this may irritate some, it's also what draws others to respect and admiration them. As a wise man once said, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. Number 2. He has the courage to displace the crowd. Going against the grain is never simple, particularly when it involves resisting peer pressure. Many of us struggle with having the guts to make our own decisions, especially if it means going against the grain. This is a skill that few people have mastered. However, the Sigma male has discovered how to take charge of his life by confidently defying cultural standards and boldly deciding what is important. He is confident in himself and does not require the approval of others. Rather than in social situations where he must blend in and follow rules, he frequently finds comfort in isolation. This quality makes a lot of people jealous. Number 3. He hides his feelings. It is difficult for people to comprehend something they cannot see. Furthermore, because Sigma males tend not to show their emotions publicly, it might be challenging for outsiders to read them and completely comprehend their point of view. To others used to more expressive personalities, this makes the Sigma male appear distant and emotionless. People typically view emotionality as a necessary part of being human, therefore hiding one's feelings is interpreted as a sign of weakness or a lack of empathy. Because of this, some people think that Sigma males are emotionless and frigid, which makes them unpopular or even detested by others who prefer more expressive people. That being said, this does not imply that Sigma males lack feelings, rather, they just choose to keep them to themselves. People who don't get this point of view may perceive them as distant or unreliable since they cherish their privacy and keep their feelings within. Number 4. He is not a believer in everything. Have you ever wondered what someone was trying to say or accomplish? That's what Sigma male has to deal with daily, though. This kind of man never takes anything at face value. Instead, he constantly looks further to uncover the real motivation and source of a statement or action. He is an independent thinker who bases his ideas on careful consideration and critical thought rather than blindly accepting what others say. Those who would rather have their authority and ideas accepted without question may view this as a threat. Because they are adept at seeing through disguises and ulterior motives, Sigma males aren't scared to challenge the current standard. Others may feel uneasy about this, particularly if they have something to conceal or are afraid of being found out. People find it simpler to detest someone who disagrees with them than to acknowledge that they may be mistaken or misinformed. However, finding the truth takes precedence above blending in or winning over others for Sigma males. Number 5. Your status is not enough to buy him. Depending on your point of view, the idea of status and how it affects our lives may be either exciting or depressing. It would be an understatement to suggest that the human urge to achieve or hold some sort of perceived higher-ranking position in society has had an impact on everyone, either favorably or badly. Whether we like to acknowledge it or not, there's always someone going above and beyond to flaunt their most recent acquisition or achievement in the hopes of winning the respect and adoration of their peers. You receive more respect the higher you are on the ladder. Because of this, alpha males will stop at nothing to gain control. Sigma males rejects the superficial status markers that underpin the social order. They understand that actual worth transcends worldly goods, thus they aren't impressed by fancy automobiles or clothing brands. Because of this, others may perceive them as conceited or snobby for defying social norms and expectations. However, it's simply one more illustration of their unique viewpoints and reluctance to follow rules. They place more importance on substance than looks, and you cannot win their respect or allegiance with any amount of wealth or position. Number 6. People think he's arrogant. It's simple for people to misinterpret someone who exudes confidence and quietness as haughtiness. Because Sigma males tend to be cool-headed and collected, outsiders may mistake this for superiority or aloofness. Sigma males would rather stay in the background and observe and listen, but alpha males enjoy being the center of attention and winning people over. Sigma males are just more reserved and deliberate in their words and deeds, despite what others perceive to be a lack of interest or disengagement. When they have something important to say and are not just trying to be heard, they decide to speak out. Because of this, they may exude mystery and intrigue, which may be terrifying to others. Furthermore, it's simple for someone to dismiss something as arrogance when they're feeling threatened or don't understand it. This is how our society labels what we fear and makes excuses for our failings, rejecting what we don't comprehend. Number 7. Hard to figure out. It's a common statement, "I just can't figure him out." With Sigma males, this is a typical feeling. Number 8. Limited collaboration. Some people just find it inconceivable that others might be happy to work on their own. Whereas alpha males enjoy working in teams and actively seek out collaborations, Sigma males would rather work alone. It's not that they're antisocial or don't like working in teams, it's just the way they function best. They are self-driven people who can accomplish goals without the approval or guidance of others. They are capable of working effectively in a group when called upon, but they generally like taking on jobs and projects by themselves. Even while Sigma males may do just as much, if not more, on their own, those who appreciate cooperation and collaboration might think of this as uncooperative or unproductive. They can concentrate their energies and ideas without interruption while they are alone, which leads to excellent productivity and effective problem solving. While teamwork has advantages, Sigma males shine when they work alone, pushing themselves to the edge. Number 9. An intolerance for lack of skill. The Sigma male is most irritated by those who don't use their intellect. For him, seeing someone go through the process without really thinking is like nails on a chalkboard. The Sigma male has little patience for incompetence, yet he can be kind and compassionate to those who truly want to learn. His expectations of others are high, and he wants everyone to give it their all, even if that means making mistakes and growing from them. Being inexperienced is one thing, but being sluggish or complacent is quite another. Although nobody is flawless, you can tell when someone is trying and when they are not. Their dissatisfaction at seeing potential wasted is what drives their intolerance for incompetence, which can occasionally come across as arrogance or snobbish. It's true that some people want to cruise through life and don't want to put in additional effort, but Sigma males don't work like that. They always want to get better, even if it means stepping outside of their comfort zone. Number 10. Powerhouse performer. Ever wonder why certain people appear to release astonishing superhuman performance levels when given the right motivation? What is it about them that makes them so successful in whatever they try to accomplish? Are they simply fortunate, or do they have a secret formula that they follow? Although many may find this mysterious, Sigma males have an explanation: self-motivation. These men need to discover their passion and drive for a certain work or objective. They are not naturally lethargic or disinterested. After that, they can transform into formidable performers, doing amazing things that would appear unattainable to others. However, Sigma males want more than simply inspiration. They also require the liberty to pursue their objectives independently. They don't enjoy having pointless rules and procedures micromanage them or restrict them. They may achieve extraordinary productivity and achievement if given trust and autonomy. Their inner drive is what drives them, and once they discover it, they are unstoppable. Naturally, some individuals find it offensive when others do better than they do, so this might trigger some concerns in them, particularly if it diverts their focus. Number 11. Mysterious and misinterpreted. It's common to characterize Sigma males as mysterious and enigmatic. They tend to stay out of the spotlight and maintain a low profile, which gives the impression that they are mysterious. It's not deliberate, it's just a feature of who they are. Their need for isolation and independence might make them appear distant or detached from other people. This may cause miscommunication, particularly in situations involving groups when social dynamics and hierarchies are present. But this misinterpreted character is only a byproduct of their need for solitude and introspection. It's not always a bad thing. Sigma males enjoy spending time alone, reflecting and delving into their ideas. They refuel and make sense of their ideas and objectives in this way. They just value their alone time over small chats or surface-level social engagements. Even though this is untrue, still, many refer to them as antisocial. Even though they might not be the most gregarious or sociable people, they nonetheless value friendship and deep relationships. Number 12. Independence and nonconformity. How often have you witnessed someone criticizing others for having chosen the same road as them? The unfortunate truth is that those who don't match such stereotypes are labeled as troublemakers or black sheep. Particularly for Sigma males, who typically follow their own set of rules, this is true. They have an innate tendency to challenge authority figures and conventional wisdom, which may come off to others as rebellious or unconventional. But they only want to follow their path, dictated by their principles and beliefs, rather than stirring up problems or defying authority. Even while they don't want to annoy or bother others, they won't give in to peer pressure to fit in. Conflicts with authority figures might occasionally result from this independent character since they dislike it when people deviate from the standard. But Sigma males only want the freedom to live true to themselves and make their own decisions. They don't want to cause trouble. In conclusion, even though Sigma males are often looked down upon for being nonconformist and independent, it is important to acknowledge the contributions they make to a culture that frequently values conformity over authenticity. A more accepting and receptive perspective can be promoted by being aware of and respecting the distinctive characteristics of Sigma males. If you found this exploration of Sigma males intriguing, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to delve deeper into diverse topics and perspectives. Don't miss out on the next video on your screen where we continue on Sigma male behavior. Hit the notification bell to stay updated, and let's embark on this journey of exploration together. Thank you for being a part of our community.